The Galactic Council, an alliance of powerful alien species, had chosen Earth for an important test. It wasn't a simple test. This one would decide whether humanity was ready to join the larger galaxy. The challenge was to decode 2025's complex. Symbols that represented alien ideas, technology, and culture. Each symbol had been carefully created by a different species, and none of them were easy to understand. Sam Williams was one of the many students chosen to participate in the challenge. He was young, but very smart, and had always dreamed of making a big impact in the world. He was determined to show the aliens that humans could keep up with their advanced knowledge. Sam joined a group of students, and together, they began the impossible task of decoding the symbols. For weeks, the students worked day and night. The symbols were unlike anything they had ever seen. They weren't pictures or words, but strange patterns that seemed to shift and change. The symbols were not just difficult to understand, they seemed to be alive, shifting into new forms every time they tried to make sense of them. Sam felt the pressure mounting. The alien council, who were observing the test from afar, didn't seem impressed by the human efforts. Each day, the students were given more symbols to decode, but each time they tried, they only made little progress. The symbols looked too complex. The students found it hard to even guess their meanings. The group met in the university lab every day. They sat at computers, scanned the symbols, and tried every approach they could think of. Sam tried translating the symbols into languages he knew, like English, Spanish, and even some ancient Earth languages, but nothing worked. He even tried combining them with human numbers and mathematical symbols, but the meanings still escaped them. Nothing was making sense. "There has to be a way," Sam said one evening, staring at the screen in frustration. "You're right," replied Emma, a fellow student and a close friend. "But we can't keep staring at these things. They just don't fit into anything we know." The other students in the room were just as frustrated. They had all worked hard, but the alien symbols seemed impossible to crack. The human methods of thinking and problem-solving just didn't match the alien logic. It felt like they were running in circles. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no breakthrough. The other species in the competition were working with their own teams, and they too were struggling, but not to the same extent. Some of them had advanced technology and smart tools to help them, yet the results were the same. Nothing was getting done. On one of the final days before the challenge deadline, Sam sat at his desk late at night, tired and defeated. He had been staring at the symbols for hours. His eyes ached and his mind felt numb. The pressure of representing humanity weighed heavily on him, but he couldn't give up. Not yet. Sam's eyes wandered around the room, then out the window. The stars were visible from here, far away and cold. He thought about the vastness of the universe, how alien it was, how strange it felt that humanity had been invited to test their intelligence against these mysterious beings. And then, as if it was an answer to his frustration, something clicked in Sam's mind. He wasn't thinking about the symbols as abstract objects anymore. Instead, he remembered something simple. Music. Sam had always enjoyed playing the piano. He wasn't a genius musician, but he loved the idea that music could express emotions without words. He thought about how music often had a pattern too, a rhythm, a melody, a harmony. What if these symbols weren't just about language or logic? What if they were a kind of song, a hidden melody? Maybe, Sam whispered to himself, I'm thinking about this all wrong. What if it's not about decoding at all, but about connecting the symbols to something more familiar? His fingers tapped the desk nervously. He had no idea why, but Sam felt excited. The idea seemed crazy, but it also felt right. Music was something every culture understood. Symbols were a form of music? Perhaps they were like notes on a scale, waiting to be played. Sam quickly grabbed a notebook and started scribbling down his thoughts. He wrote out a few of the symbols and began humming a tune that felt right based on the patterns of the symbols. It was a simple melody, nothing fancy, but it felt like it matched the shapes and the flow of the symbols in a way that nothing else had. He didn't know what it meant, but he felt a strange sense of clarity. The symbols seemed to fit the melody as though they were notes in a cosmic song. The more he hummed, the more the symbols seemed to make sense. It was almost as if the symbols weren't a puzzle to be solved with logic, but a pattern that had to be felt with creativity. Sam smiled. This was ridiculous, he knew, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was onto something. Maybe the answer was simpler than anyone had imagined. Maybe the aliens, with all their advanced technology and wisdom, had underestimated one simple thing: the power of human creativity. With new determination, Sam ran to Emma and the others. "I think I have an idea," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "What if the symbols aren't just words? What if they're a song or a melody? What if the answer is in the music?" The group looked at him skeptically, but Sam didn't care. For the first time in weeks, he felt like he was on the right track. Maybe it was time to try something different. Maybe it was time to stop thinking so much and start feeling. After all, humans had always been good at turning chaos into art, and maybe that was the key to unlocking the symbols. The next day, Sam could hardly wait to share his idea with his team. They had been working for hours, staring at the same confusing symbols, when Sam burst into the lab. His excitement was obvious, and the other students looked up, unsure of what to expect. "I think I've found something," Sam said, almost out of breath. "I'm telling you, these symbols. They're not just words or images, they're like music." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Music? Sam, these symbols are so complicated. How could they be music?" "I don't know how, but I'm telling you, it just feels right," Sam replied. He quickly grabbed his notebook and showed the team the symbols he had written down the night before. He explained how the shapes and patterns of the symbols seemed to follow a rhythm, like notes in a song. He even hummed a few lines of the melody he had come up with, and the others were shocked at how it felt like the symbols were following the tune. "Think about it," Sam said. "What if these symbols aren't meant to be decoded the way we thought? What if they're meant to be played like music, with each symbol representing a note or a beat or a melody?" The room fell silent as the team thought about Sam's idea. It was strange, to say the least, but something about it felt different from everything else they had tried. After a long pause, Emma nodded slowly. "Okay, let's give it a shot." "But how do we even know if this will work?" "I don't know," Sam admitted, "but we've tried everything else. What's the worst that could happen?" The team agreed, and they decided to try Sam's idea. They set up the computer again and started inputting the symbols, this time following the melody Sam had created. Felt odd, but they pushed forward, unsure of what else to do, as Sam hummed the melody. The symbols on the screen began to shift. At first, they didn't seem to do anything special, but then something unexpected happened. The symbols started to move together, forming new shapes. The screen lit up with patterns, and the computer beeped as though it was processing something. "Deeper? What's happening?" Emma asked, wide-eyed. She leaned in closer to the screen. Sam's heart raced. "I think it's working," he whispered. "I think we're onto something." The symbols on the screen started to organize themselves into something recognizable words, or at least phrases that made sense. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. The team watched in awe as more and more symbols began to align with the melody Sam had created. It was clear now the symbols weren't just random pictures. They had a rhythm, a pattern, and it was all tied to the music. The melody Sam had come up with wasn't just some silly idea. It was the key to unlocking the meaning behind the symbols. As the symbols finally began to reveal themselves, the meaning became clearer. The first few lines told a simple story of peace, harmony, and cooperation. It seemed like the alien species had encoded their understanding of universal values into these symbols. They weren't just complicated signs, they were cultural messages about life and unity. The team worked through the symbols one by one, and with each line, the message became more clear. The melody Sam had created wasn't just a way to decode the symbols, it was helping them understand the philosophy of the alien species. Each symbol, once decoded, represented a core idea: respect, collaboration, and understanding. "It's beautiful," Emma whispered. "It's like they're telling us how to live together." Sam smiled, but he wasn't done yet. There was still so much more to decode, and they had only just begun to scratch the surface. But now there was hope. For the first time, the human team had made real progress. As the hours passed, Sam and the team worked tirelessly, decoding the remaining symbols. They used the melody to help unlock their meanings, and the more they worked, the more they realized how deep and complex the alien culture was. This wasn't just a test of intelligence, it was a test of understanding, seeing beyond the surface and connecting on a deeper level. The alien symbols weren't just a challenge, they were a way to communicate, a way to reach out to others across the galaxy. The melody Sam had created wasn't just a song, it was a bridge between species, something that could help them understand each other in a way that language alone could not. But the more they decoded, the more questions arose. If the alien species were so advanced, why had they chosen such a strange and difficult method to communicate? Why not use a language they already knew? Why create something so complex? Sam had his theories, but he didn't have answers. What he did know was that humans were finally making progress, and that felt like a small victory in itself. The night grew late, and the team was exhausted, but they kept working. They couldn't stop, no, not when they were so close. They had started out with nothing but confusion, but now they were starting to see the bigger picture. As the final symbols were decoded, the message they revealed was stunning. The aliens weren't just testing the humans' intelligence, they were testing their ability to understand each other, to connect through creativity and harmony. They had chosen music not as a random choice, but because it was something universal. Music could reach across galaxies, languages, and cultures. It was a way to communicate when words failed. Sam leaned back in his chair, a smile creeping across his face. He hadn't expected this. The melody, the song that had started out as a crazy idea had opened up a whole new way of thinking. It was a simple, beautiful connection between humanity and the galaxy, one that the aliens had known all along. "Sam," Emma said softly, "this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Sam nodded, feeling a sense of pride swell inside him. Had done it. Against all odds, they had cracked the code. And it had been a song, a dumb little song that had made it all possible. The news of the human team's progress spread quickly throughout the alien council, and the other species participating in the challenge began to take notice. The other teams, which included some of the brightest minds in the galaxy, were struggling to make any headway with the symbols. They had access to advanced technologies, complex algorithms, and centuries of knowledge. But all their tools and intelligence couldn't seem to unlock the meanings behind the alien symbols. Meanwhile, Sam and his team were making rapid progress. Using the melody that Sam had created, the symbols were no longer a mystery. Each symbol, once part of the overwhelming jumble of patterns, was now revealing a deeper truth about the alien culture and philosophy. The challenge, however, wasn't just about decoding the symbols. The Galactic Council had designed the test to be more than a puzzle. They wanted to see how each species would approach the problem. Would they rely on logic, technology, or something else? The Council had made it clear, whoever could solve the puzzle would not only pass the test, but also prove that they could adapt to the galaxy's diverse ways of thinking. As Sam and the team continued their work, they realized they weren't just solving a puzzle, they were on the verge of showing the galaxy something that no one had expected. They were using human creativity, something that the other species hadn't considered, to crack the code. Despite their success, the team still faced doubts from the other species. The aliens laughed at the human approach, dismissing it as primitive and absurd. A melody? One of the alien leaders had scoffed. How could music possibly hold the key to understanding our symbols? You humans always rely on simple solutions. Sam didn't mind. He had learned a long time ago that sometimes the simplest ideas were the most powerful. He had always been the kind of person who saw patterns where others saw chaos. And now, with his melody, he was proving it to the galaxy. One afternoon, while working on the final set of symbols, Sam came up with an idea. What if the music isn't just for decoding? He said, tapping his fingers on the desk. What if it's a message in itself? Maybe it's showing us something deeper about how we all connect. Emma looked at him with a puzzled expression. What do you mean? Sam continued, maybe the symbols are about more than just knowledge. Maybe they're a way to connect us across cultures, across galaxies. Maybe music is the universal language. After all, every species has music. Every culture has rhythms and sounds they use to communicate. Sam's words hung in the air for a moment, and then Emma's eyes widened. You're right, she said. What if this is more than just a test of knowledge? What if it's a test of how well we can understand each other, how well we can reach beyond our differences? The more they thought about it, the more Sam's theory made sense. They weren't just translating alien symbols, they were learning how to connect on a deeper level with another culture. It was about building bridges, not just between symbols, but between entire species. The team worked tirelessly through the following days. Putting together the last pieces of the puzzle, Sam's melody grew more complex, and with each new phrase, they understood more about the alien species' beliefs and values. The symbols, once meaningless, were becoming a song and anthem of peace, unity, and understanding. Finally, the last set of symbols appeared on the screen. Sam, with a deep breath, began to play the melody one last time. As the notes filled the room, the symbols began to form the final message. The message was simple, but powerful. To understand the universe, we must first understand each other. It wasn't just a lesson in knowledge, it was a lesson in empathy. For a moment, the room fell silent. Sam's hands hovered over the keys as the realization hit him. This was what the aliens had been trying to teach them all along. The symbols weren't just about facts or science, they were about shared experience. The aliens had chosen to communicate through music because they believed that music could transcend the barriers of language, culture, and species. Music could speak to the heart. That's it, Sam whispered. We've got it. Emma looked at him with awe. We've done it. We've decoded it. But as the team celebrated, something unexpected happened. The alien council, who had been observing their progress, suddenly appeared on the screen. The leader of the council, an ancient and powerful being, spoke. You humans have impressed us, the alien leader said. You have shown us something we didn't expect. Your creativity and willingness to think outside the box have led you to the answer. You have proven that understanding comes from more than just logic. It comes from connection. The leader's voice softened. But there is more to this challenge than just decoding symbols. We wanted to see if you could understand the deeper message, the importance of unity and harmony in the galaxy. You have passed the test. Sam's heart skipped a beat. They had done it. They had passed the test against all odds. The leader continued, however, the real test begins now. If you wish to join the Galactic Council, you must prove that you can apply this understanding in real life by working with the other species, bridging the gaps between cultures, and leading the galaxy toward peace. Sam and the team were silent for a moment. It wasn't just about solving a puzzle. It was about using what they had learned to change the galaxy. We will, Sam said finally, his voice strong. We will prove it. And just like that, the humans had gone from underdogs to key players in the galaxy's future. It wasn't just their intelligence that had won the test, it was their creativity, their willingness to connect with others, and their belief that sometimes the simplest ideas were the most powerful. As the news of the human team's success began to spread, the entire galaxy took notice. The Galactic Council, composed of some of the most advanced species in the universe, watched closely as the humans continued to make remarkable progress. However, while some species were curious, others were skeptical. They could not understand how a simple melody had managed to unlock the deep mysteries of the alien symbols. The alien species from the Zyrians, a race known for their incredible intellect and vast knowledge, were particularly critical. Their leader, Zyroth, a towering figure with glowing blue skin, with a mad. The Zyrians had long believed that the galaxy's greatest minds worked in perfect logic and reason, and the idea of music being a solution seemed ridiculous to them. "This is absurd," Zyroth said, speaking in the Galactic Council's shared language. "Humans have cracked this puzzle with a song. Music is nothing more than noise. It cannot possibly hold the answers to these complex symbols." Other species joined in the mockery. "The humans are playing their little tune," said one of the Vrexian representatives, shaking its head in disbelief. "We have centuries of knowledge and technology, and they solve it with a melody. How primitive." Sam and his team, who had been listening to the Council's reactions through their communication devices, felt the sting of the alien species' ridicule. Emma's face flushed with frustration. "They don't get it," she said, clenching her fists. "We've shown them something they've never considered, a new way of thinking, and they're mocking us for it." "We can't let them shake our confidence," Sam said, trying to stay calm. "We've already proved it works. We've decoded the symbols. Let them laugh. They'll see eventually. Still the mocking." Comments from the other species continued. The other teams, each with their own advanced technologies and strategies, watched in silence. They too had been struggling with the symbols. The humans' success was a reminder of how much they had failed. The Vrexians, known for their ability to manipulate gravity and time, had spent countless hours scanning the symbols with their technology. They had tried to use powerful quantum computers to break the code, but nothing had worked. The Zorvons, who were famous for their advanced ability to read and manipulate energy fields, had tried to map the symbols with their intricate algorithms, only to hit a wall. Yet here were the humans, using a song to break through what these species had failed to understand. One day, as Sam and the team were working in the lab, they received an unexpected message from the Galactic Council. The leader of the Council, an ancient and wise being known only as the Arbiter, wanted to speak with them directly. "This is it," Sam said, feeling a wave of nervousness. "They're calling us to prove it once and for all." The Council's holographic message appeared before them, and the Arbiter's calm voice echoed through the room. "Human team," the Arbiter began, "you have made unexpected progress. Your methods are unconventional, but you have succeeded in decoding the symbols. But now, we have a challenge for you. The final test will be to demonstrate your understanding of the symbols by applying them in a real-life scenario. The other species will be watching." Sam felt his heart race. This was it. They had to prove that their approach, their creativity, was more than just an accident. They had to show that it was a valuable tool for bridging cultures, ideas, and species. The challenge was set. The human team would have to work alongside the Zyrians and other alien species to solve a practical problem, a galactic crisis that threatened peace between multiple systems. If they succeeded, it would be a final confirmation that the human method of thinking had value in the galaxy. As Sam and his team prepared for the challenge, they could feel the weight of the galaxy's eyes on them. They weren't just representing Earth anymore. They were representing the idea that creativity and understanding could solve problems that logic and technology couldn't. "We can do this," Emma said, looking at Sam. "We've already done the impossible. Let's show them what we're made of." The challenge was unlike anything Sam and the team had ever faced. The galaxy was on the brink of a conflict over resources between two species, the Zyrians and the Zorvons. Tensions had reached a boiling point, and both sides were preparing for war. The Council had decided to test the human team by having them mediate between the two species. Using the symbols they had decoded, Sam and his team worked closely with the Zyrians and Zorvans to find a peaceful solution. They used the symbols to understand the deeper meaning of the conflict. The symbols, which had at first seemed like an abstract puzzle, now revealed a shared understanding of peace and cooperation. As they continued their work, Sam realized that the melody he had created wasn't just a tool for decoding symbols, it was a way to bridge differences between species. A way to show that cooperation was possible despite conflict. "We're not just solving a puzzle," Sam said, looking at the others. "We're showing them that peace is possible, that understanding is possible. We're proving that creativity can lead to something greater than we ever thought." The day of the final test arrived. The human team stood before the Galactic Council, ready to present their solution. The Xyrians and Zorvans watched with skeptical eyes, waiting for the humans to fail. But Sam wasn't worried. They had already succeeded in breaking the code. Now they just had to show the galaxy that the true power of humanity wasn't in their technology or logic, but in their ability to create, to connect, and to understand. The presentation began, and Sam and his team explained how they had used the symbols to uncover a common understanding between the Xyrians and Zorvans. The melody, they explained, wasn't just a song, it was a way to communicate beyond the barriers of language and culture. It was a symbol of unity. The other species listened in stunned silence. The Xyrians and Zorvans, who had once been prepared for war, now looked at each other, seeing the potential for peace through the human approach. As the meeting concluded, the Arbiter spoke once again. "Humans," the Arbiter said, his voice filled with respect, "you have done what we thought impossible. You have shown us that creativity and empathy are just as powerful as logic and reason. You have passed the test, and you have earned your place in the galaxy." The mockery from the other species had turned into admiration. Sam and his team had proved them wrong. They had not only cracked the code, they had shown the galaxy that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. The final test was over, and the human team had done what no one thought was possible. They had cracked the alien symbols and used their creativity to bring about peace between two warring species. Yet, even as they celebrated their victory, Sam and his team knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The Galactic Council had been impressed, but there was still so much more to prove. Sam stood at the window of the lab, looking out at the stars. The weight of what had just happened settled on him. The galaxy was a vast and complicated place, filled with advanced beings and cultures, each with their own way of thinking. But the humans had managed to connect with them in a way that no one had expected. The melody, the song that had started as a simple idea, had changed everything. "Sam," Emma said, her voice breaking through his thoughts, "we did it. We really did it." He turned to her, a smile spreading across his face. "Yeah, we did. But I can't shake the feeling that we're not done yet. The Council still wants more from us." "I know," Emma agreed. "But we've already shown them what we can do. They didn't believe in us at first, but now, now they have to." The team had become a close-knit group over the past weeks, working together to decode the symbols and unlock their meanings. They had faced doubts from all sides, but in the end, their creativity and willingness to think outside the box had earned them the respect of the galaxy. Still, the journey wasn't over. The Arbiter had spoken of applying the lessons they had learned to real-world problems, showing the galaxy that humans could be more than just a species of warriors. They could be diplomats, problem solvers, and leaders. The next day, the team received a new message from the Galactic Council. It was time for their next challenge. This time it wouldn't be about solving puzzles or decoding symbols. The challenge would be something far more difficult, proving that humans could work with other species to create a lasting peace. The galaxy, Sam realized, was on the edge of war. Resources were becoming scarce, and several species were vying for control over valuable planets. The Council had hoped that by testing humanity's creativity, they would find a way to avoid conflict. Now, Sam and his team were being asked to find a solution to a galactic crisis. The team gathered in the lab once again, this time with a sense of urgency. They weren't just solving a puzzle anymore. They were about to make decisions that could affect the entire galaxy. "The Zorvans and the Xyrians are still on the verge of war," Sam said, pacing the room. "They both want the same planets, and both sides are willing to fight to get them. The Council wants us to find a way to bring them to the table." "We've already done it once," Emma said, looking at Sam. "We used the symbols to help them see a different way of thinking. But now, it's not just about understanding. It's about getting them to trust each other. That's a whole different challenge." Sam nodded. "It's not going to be easy, but I think we can do it. The symbols taught us that communication isn't just about words or technology. It's about understanding the other side. We've already shown that we can connect across cultures now, We just have to show them that peace is possible. The team set to work using everything they had learned to come up with a solution. They knew the stakes were high. If they failed, the galaxy could be torn apart by war. But Sam had a sense of hope. He believed in the power of creativity and the power of connection. Over the next few days, the team worked tirelessly. The symbols to find common ground between the Zorvons and the Zyrians. They discovered shared values, common goals, and even similarities in their cultures that had been overlooked. But they knew it wouldn't be enough to just present this information. The Zorvans and the Zyrians needed to hear it in a way that would make them listen. And that's when Sam had an idea. What if we use the melody again? He suggested. We've already shown it can help decode the symbols. What if it can help us decode the conflict? The team looked at him in surprise. How? Emma asked. Think about it, Sam said. No. The melody represents harmony. It's about bringing different notes together to create something beautiful. What if we can use the melody to bring their differences together? If we can create a song that represents unity, peace, and cooperation. The idea seemed crazy at first, but the more the team thought about it, the more it made sense. The melody had already broken down barriers between species. Why couldn't it help break down the walls of distrust between two warring factions? The team began to work on a new version of the melody, one that could be shared between the Zorvans and the Zyrians. They combined elements of both species' music, mixing their rhythms and tones into something new. It was a delicate balance, but they believed it could work. Finally, they were ready. They had created a song that blended the cultures of both species. It was a message of unity, of cooperation, of peace. They sent it to the leaders of both the Zorvans and the Zyrians, hoping it would be the bridge that brought them together. The leaders of both species were skeptical, of course, but as they listened to the song, something unexpected happened. The music seemed to resonate with them. It wasn't just a song, it was a message, a reminder that even in the face of conflict, there was still hope for peace. And slowly, the walls between the Zorvons and the Zyrians began to crumble. The galaxy, it seemed, was on the verge of something new. And it was all because of a melodious, simple, beautiful song that had brought two warring species together. As Sam and his team watched the news, they knew they had done more than just solve a puzzle. They had changed the future of the galaxy. The day had arrived. The entire galaxy watched as Sam and his team stood before the Galactic Council, ready to present the final part of their solution. They had done what seemed impossible, and now they would show everyone that their creativity could bring real change to the galaxy. Sam stood at the front of the room, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The Zyrians and the Zorvans were sitting in the audience, their representatives tense and wary. The other species, who had mocked the humans just days before, were now silent, waiting for Sam and his team to explain how they had turned a simple song into a symbol of peace. You've all seen how we decoded the alien symbols, Sam began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. But what we didn't expect was that these symbols weren't just about knowledge. They were a lesson in unity. They taught us that communication doesn't have to be about technology or complex algorithms. Sometimes it's about understanding each other. It's about connecting. He glanced at his team, who were all standing by his side. They had worked hard for this moment, and Sam was proud of everything they had accomplished. We used the melody to decode the symbols. But we realized it was more than that. Music has always been a universal language. It transcends barriers. It speaks to the heart. We used the melody to understand the deeper meanings of the symbols, and we saw something incredible. Emma stepped forward, adding, "We didn't just decode a language. We found a way to connect with each other. Found a way to see the world through someone else's eyes. And that's what we did for the Zyrians and the Zorvons. We used the song to help them understand each other's perspectives." Sam nodded. "We didn't just want to solve a puzzle. We wanted to prove that peace is possible. The song we created wasn't just a melody, it was a message. It showed the Zyrians and the Zorvons that they had more in common than they thought. It showed them that cooperation was more powerful than conflict." The council members listened in silence, their faces hard to read. The tension in the room was thick, But Sam felt something else. Hope. He believed in what they had done. He believed that the galaxy could change, and that humanity could be the ones to lead that change. The Arbiter, the wise and ancient leader of the Council, stood up. He had watched the humans progress with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. But now his expression was different. There was respect in his eyes. "Humans," the Arbiter said. His voice calm but filled with admiration. "You have done what no one thought was possible. Your creativity, your willingness to think beyond logic and technology, has shown us something we did not expect. You have not only decoded the symbols, you have unlocked the true meaning of cooperation. Your melody has brought peace between two species who are on the brink of war. You have proven that empathy, understanding, and connection are as powerful as any weapon." Sam's heart swelled with pride as he heard the words. He had hoped that they could change the galaxy, but now he was hearing that they had. They had shown the galaxy that peace didn't have to come from force or domination. It could come from understanding and creativity. "You have passed the test," the Arbiter continued. "You have shown that humanity has the potential to lead, not through power, but through connection. You are a species who can bridge the gaps between worlds, between cultures, and between hearts." A loud cheer erupted from the human team, but the Arbiter held up his hand to quiet them. "But this is not the end," the Arbiter said, his voice serious once more. "The challenge was to prove that humanity could be more than just a force in the galaxy. You have done that. But now, the real work begins. You must continue to lead, to show the galaxy that your methods can be used for more than just this. One crisis, the galaxy will be watching you closely. And we expect you to continue proving that creativity, empathy, and understanding are the future of the galaxy." The human team stood tall, their hearts filled with a new sense of purpose. They had done more than solve a puzzle. They had opened a door to a new way of thinking, a new way of connecting with others. And now they had to carry that responsibility forward. Sam looked at his team, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. But there was no fear in his heart. They had faced the impossible and they had succeeded. And now they would take the lessons they had learned and use them to change the future of the galaxy. The other species in the room, who had once ridiculed the humans, now looked at them with admiration. The Zorvans and the Zirians, who had been on the verge of war, had signed a peace agreement. The melody that Sam and his team had created had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the deepest conflicts could be resolved with understanding. The Arbiter nodded to Sam and his team. "You have earned your place in the galaxy, humans. Your journey is just beginning. Lead us with wisdom, with creativity, and with the knowledge that peace is possible." As the meeting ended, Sam stood there, feeling a sense of awe. The work they had done, the song they had created, had changed everything. They had shown the galaxy that there was more to strength than firepower. There was strength in understanding, strength in connection, strength in creativity. And as Sam looked around at his team, he knew that they were ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but now they had no choice but to listen.